Hi everyone, this is my first attempt at doing a video tutorial, so I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. This video may never see the light of day, but I just thought that rather than type up instructions for how to create these gorgeous little flowers that are made using the Eyelet border punch, that it would be easier for me just to do a quick YouTube video. So bear with me and we'll see if we can make one of these gorgeous little flowers. Okay, so the things you'll need is your Eyelet border punch. I'm using the 1 3/8 inch circle punch as a background, and also to put in the middle of the flowers I'm using the boho blossoms punch, which is really quite cute and very diverse little punch that you can use. So to get started, we need some designer series paper. You can use anything that you like. This is better than cardstock because it actually folds a bit easier to make the flowers. So the first thing you need to do is cut a 1 inch strip of your designer series paper, just like that. Then we need to get our Eyelet border punch and punch the edge of this strip of paper. Now the Eyelet border punch is really easy to use, and first thing to do is to pop it into the punch, and if you can see, hopefully you can, line the end of your piece of paper up with the very first eyelet there and punch it out. I just like to punch it so all those bits go downwards. Then flip it over, and then you'll be able to see on the top side of your punch you've got the shape here, which is the eyelet border that you're left with, and the silver bit's the bit that is cut away. So as you can see, if you feed it through, it cuts out 3 little scallops at a time, so you can push it through till you can just see the third one, and line it up so that the silver bits are the bits that you can see through the pieces that you've cut out, and then just continue to punch your border all the way along your strip of paper. Now it's really quite easy to do. You get the hang of it after you've done it a few times. It's really quite simple. Now I'm not sure if my videoing technique is really quite good here, but I guess we'll see when I go to edit this what it really looks like. Now you're probably left with one little one left to do at the end, and it's the trickiest one. It doesn't always sit flat, but just give it a punch out. Okay, so you've got a beautiful little border there, and we'll get rid of all this rubbish out the way. Okay, so now that we've got our piece of designer series paper cut with our Eyelet border punch, there's 2 things you can do. Now lots of videos say to use your crimper to distress the paper. If you don't have a crimper, that's okay. You can also just screw your designer series paper up. All the crimper's designed to do is to make it soft so that you can actually bend it into a circular shape. But I do have a crimper, and I love my crimper. I've only just recently purchased it and I really like it, so I'm going to use it. So we just load it into the crimper and run it through a couple of times. And like I said, all this is designed to do is to make the paper softer and more malleable to put into a circular shape. The same effect would be achieved if you wanted to sort of soften it first with your bone folder, scrunch it up, you'll get the same sort of effect. It doesn't really matter. So after we've done that a couple of times, you're left with a little border punched and all crimped up. So the next thing that we need to do is to create a piece of cardstock for mounting our flower onto, and like I said, we're using the I'm using the 1 3/8 circle punch. I've seen it done with the 1 3/4 inch. Doesn't really matter, just to give yourself a base to stick something to. I guess the size of the circle that you use will end up being the size of the flower that you get. So essentially just punch out a circle like that. Then on our circle, just using a bit of snail adhesive, just put a couple of strips of snail adhesive across your circle like that, just so that it's nice and sticky. As you can see, it's sticking everywhere now. Okay, and then you just need to decide which side of the paper you're using, because designer series paper is great in that it has 2 sides to it. Clearly I'm using the Riding Hood red here, so I'm actually going to use the side which has got very vanilla and Riding Hood red so that it matches my circle. Now I find it easier to hold the circle in my hand, and essentially all you do is stick about half the width of the eyelet border onto the edge of it, and then just make little creases, I guess, in the bits of your punched piece of paper, just so that it sort of starts to gather and you can fit it in a circular fashion. Now again, the beauty with this flower is there is no right and wrong. I've made several of them and they all look slightly different depending on how much you scrunch and what you do with your scrunching, but kind of just make it look a little bit like a flower. So you just keep going around, sticking it down to the circle, giving it a bit of a scrunch so that it fits in. Now when you get back to the start here, you can see I'm almost back to the start now. You don't want to cover it up, so you just kind of scrunch it a bit more and give that a bit of a flatten out, and then bring it into the next level. So you've sort of got an inner circle and an outer circle. So again, it doesn't really matter how you do this, how much overlap you have between the inner and the outer circle. It really doesn't matter because it's just gorgeous. Got a gooby bit there, get rid of that. Doesn't really matter how you do it. And then the last little bit, I just kind of pull it down so it sort of sits inside and give it a bit of a squish. And then you can sort of flatten it out. Now, really cute, but we need to cover up that little hole there in the centre. Now you can do 1,000 little things. Punch some flowers out. So punching out some, oh, it's a tough punch to use, but punching out some out of the Riding Hood Red. So I've ended up with 3 there. Won't use all of them for this one flower, but I'll also punch some out of the Very Vanilla cardstock. And you can see I just use scrap pieces of paper to get my punches out again. So we've got now 3 of each. Now I just like to layer them so that it makes sort of sense to me. So I'm just going to use the larger in the Riding Hood Red. I'm going to use the Very Vanilla for the middle one, and then of course I'm going to use the tiny one out of the Riding Hood Red. Now, so you've got another set there left over if you wanted to make another little flower for another centre of one. Essentially all of these, then I'm just going to connect them together using a brad. And so to make the brad go through nice and easy, I just take a piece of foam and punch a hole in each of the flowers that I've punched out. So just roughly in the centre, oops, like that, and like that. Just punch a hole in them, taking a brad out of the container, and then put it through the centre of those flowers. Now I think you can probably hear my chair squeaking in the background, which is something I'll probably have to fix when I do more videos, but it's a learning process for me, so bear with me and we'll see how we go. Okay, that's, and of course you can never do something when you're under pressure and being filmed, but I've made a few of these and haven't had a problem. Last one. Okay, and then really it's just because I like to make sure that my petals are sort of offset in the middle of each of the other outer petals, but that's just me because I'm very fussy about that sort of stuff. And then just open your brad up and push it down nice and flat. And then to stick the brad onto the flower, all I do is use a dimensional, and these are great. You just get you get quite a few in a packet, and they just seem to never end. There's hundreds of them. So just squeeze, push it onto the back, take the backing paper off, and then just pop it into the middle of your flower. And that is it. A very, very, very easy little flower using the Eyelet border punch. So you thought it was just for borders, but you can of course make all sorts of things with your punches. Your punches aren't limited to just what you think you've mainly bought it for. So again, like I said, this is another one I've got with a similar sort of centre. I probably should have used the alternate flower for that one. That would have been sensible to use the cream first, but clearly didn't do that. And like I said, buttons with a bit of twine. So I hope that was helpful and useful, and hopefully this makes the light of day, and I will try and do another flower punch video before the end of the day if it all goes well. All right, thank you. Bye.